A sketch of y is equal to negative 2x squared plus 4 could be. Okay. Well, first thing you notice is the coefficient in front of that 2 is negative. So that means the parabola points downward like that. So that immediately eliminates A and B. Okay, now we've got to figure out which one of the remaining ones. Y is equal to minus 2x squared plus 4. When x is 0, y will be 4. Well, which one of those gives you the point 0, 4? It's this one. This is the only one. So, there you go. Number 5 is D. If x is a solution, x equals 1 is a solution of x squared plus ax plus 1 is 0, then the value of a is. Substitute x equals 1 into that equation, and when you do, you get 1 squared plus a times 1 plus 1 is equal to 0. So that means 1 plus a plus 1 is 0. A plus 2 is equal to 0. A is equal to negative 2. So number 7, the answer is E. X plus a times x plus 8 is equal to x squared plus bx plus 24 for all values of x. Then a plus b is equal to. Well, x plus a times x plus 8 is equal to x squared plus bx plus 24 for all values. So if it's true for all values, we can just substitute two values, and that would be sufficient for us to solve for a and b. So let's use simple ones, 0 and 1. Plugging in 0, we get a times 8 is equal to 24, and that pretty much gives me that a is 3. There we go. Now let's plug in this one, 1 for x. That means 1 plus a, 1 plus 8 is 1 squared plus b plus 24. That means that's 9 times 1 plus a is equal to b plus 25. Well, a is 3, so I can just put that in. So that's going to be 9 times 4 is b plus 25. So that's going to be 36 minus 25 is 11 for b. A is 3, b is 11, therefore a plus b is 3 plus 11, which is 14. Number 7, the answer is D. 2x squared is equal to 9x minus 4. X is not equal to 4. What is the value of 2x? 2x squared is equal to 9x minus 4. Put everything on one side. 2x squared minus 9x plus 4 is equal to 0. And I think this factors. We won't need to use a quadratic, hopefully. And I think it is 4, 1, negative, negative. So that means that 2x is equal to 1, therefore x is a half, or x is equal to 4. But they told us that x is not equal to 4. So this is the only solution. And they want the value of 2x. So 2x would be 2 times a half, which is equal to 1. So number 10, the answer is B. If x is equal to 18 is one of the solutions of the equation x squared plus 12x plus c is 0, the other solution is. Well, let's substitute in x equals 18 first to get an idea of what c is. So this will be 324 plus 216 plus c is equal to 0. So that means we have 540 plus c is equal to 0. So c is equal to minus 540. So now we can put that back in to get x squared plus 12x minus 540 is equal to 0. And therefore, I think you can factor this. So this will be x, 18, and 30. And this will be negative, that will be plus. So that means the roots are 18, which is something they already gave you, but the other one is minus 30. So number 16, the answer is C. The equation y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c was used to create the table of values below. What is the value of a plus b? Well, this, I believe, means that when x is 0, y is 8, and when x is 1, y is 9. It's interesting how they did it in the horizontal way rather than the vertical way, but it doesn't matter. All right, so let's substitute this guy first. X is 0 and y is an 8 into this equation right here. So 8 for y and then 0 for x, so I get 0 plus 0 plus c. So very quickly I get c is equal to 8. Okay, let's now substitute 1 and 9. So when y is 9, I get a plus b plus c, but c is 8. All I've done is just substituted these points into this equation. Nothing fancy. So now a plus b, if I bring the 8 over, is 1. And that's it. That's what they wanted me to figure out. So it doesn't need to be any more complicated than it should. Number 16, therefore, is B. The graph of the function y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c is shown in the diagram. Which of the following must be positive? Well, first and foremost, notice that this parabola opens downward, right? And if the parabola opens downward, that means this coefficient right here, a, is negative. So a is less than 0. That's the first thing. Now, what about b and c? Are b and c negative or positive? I don't know. Well, we are not given any specific values, right, for the roots. But we can kind of see from this graph that this root right here is positive. Well, let's just say it's 1. I don't know what it is, but it's a positive number. This root here is obviously negative. So let's just say it's negative 3. All right? There is a rule that if you have any polynomial of this form, that the sum of the roots is equal to minus b over a. Okay? So, in this example, you can clearly see that if you were to add these roots, it would be, for example, minus 3 plus 1 approximately, right? And that's going to be about minus 2. And that's negative. So the sum of the roots, minus b over a, in our case, is negative. It's less than 0. Now, we just established that a is less than 0. So how do we get this to be less than 0? The only way is if b is also less than 0. Correct? Let me give you some examples. Let's say a is negative 1. If b is negative 1, then this would be negative 1 all over negative 1, which is negative 1, which is less than 0. If you're unsure, just plug in some numbers to avoid the abstractness of some of these inequalities. Okay, so we've established that a is less than 0 and b is less than 0. Another formula for the roots is the product of the roots. And that is equal to c over a for a polynomial of that nature. And in our case, our roots are 1 and negative 3 approximately. And if you multiplied them, they would basically give you a negative number. Correct? So that means c over a is negative. It's less than 0. Now we just established earlier that a was less than 0. So therefore, c must be positive. Correct? If a is negative, c must be positive for this expression to be negative. All right? Hopefully that was clear. Nothing too confusing about that. So we got a is negative, b is negative, c is positive. Now let's look at the answer choices. We have to find something that's positive. All right, here we go. A, well, a is negative, so it's not positive. B times c. B is negative, c is positive. So BC would essentially be a negative times a positive, and that is equal to a negative. So BC is negative. How about AB squared? A is negative, B is negative squared. A negative squared becomes a positive, and then you're multiplying that by a negative, so that's negative. Now we got B minus C. So we've got a negative minus a positive. and that is going to be a negative. Well, the answer's got to be E, but let's just check. C minus A. C is positive minus a negative, and that basically becomes a positive plus a positive, or negative negative, right? So, and that is of course positive. So finally, the answer to number 20 is E. In the diagram, the parabola has x-intercepts -1 and 4 and y-intercepts of 8. If the parabola passes through the point 3w, what is w? The equation of this parabola is written as y is equal to some a, and then we know the roots, so x minus 4, x plus 1. It's the quickest way of figuring out the equation with the roots. Well, they gave me a very important and helpful tool, that is this value, which is the y-intercept. That means that point, which is 0, 8, is on that parabola. So substitute it in, 8 for y, and you get a, 0 minus 4, and 0 plus 1. And that means 8 is equal to a, and that looks like -4 plus 1, -4, and therefore a is -2. So very quickly, we've got our equation. It's -2 times x minus 4 times x plus 1. And now they've given me this point 3w, and they're saying that it's on the parabola. Okay, so substitute it in, 3 and w. So 3 for x and w for y. So we got 3 minus 4 and 3 plus 1. So w is -2, -1, and 4. So that means w is 8. So in number 12, the answer is 8, which is choice E. The product of the roots of the equation is, well, what we can do initially is just factor. You can always multiply it all out and then factor, but I think it's perhaps quicker to factor immediately. And then if you do, you get x minus 4 plus x minus 6, like that. And then x minus 2, this is 2x minus 10. So from this, we get x is equal to 2 or x is equal to 5. Those are the two roots. The product of those roots would be 2 times 5, which is 10. So number 14, the answer is 10, which is choice C. There are two values of k for which the equation x squared plus 2kx plus 7k minus 10 equals 0 has two equal real roots, that is, has exactly one solution for x. The sum of these values of k is x squared plus 2kx plus 7k minus 10 is equal to 0. So the first thing we'd like to do is use the quadratic formula to solve for x. So x will be minus b 2k plus or minus the square root of b squared 2k squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, if this has only one solution, that means that all of this has to be 0. So what that really means is the discriminant has to equal 0. Now, what is the discriminant? It's what's underneath the radical sign. In our case, it's 2k squared minus 4 times 7k minus 10. All of that has to equal 0. If it does, all of this wipes out, and you get just one root. And in this case, it would be, if that is all 0, it would be minus 2k over 2, which is just minus k. Yeah. Not that that is important, but I just wanted to illustrate that. Okay, so we got to solve for this. No problem. 4k squared minus 28k plus 40 is 0. Divide through by 4, and you get k squared minus 7k plus 10. And I think this factors. So let's see here. k, 5 to negative. So therefore k is equal to 5 and 2. So we got our values. We got our two values for k, and now they want the sum of those two values. Well, the sum is 5 plus 2, and that is 7. And that's it. Number 18, the answer is E.